Negative thinking is something we all encounter. It's part of being human. We've all had moments where we've doubted ourselves, where we've questioned our abilities, or where we've assumed that failure is imminent. But what if I told you that those negative thoughts don't have to define you? That they don't have to control your actions or your future? The first step in killing your negative thinking is recognizing that negative thoughts are natural, but they are not your truth. We often think that when negativity arises, it's a sign that something is wrong with us, that we're failing somehow. But that's not true. Every single person on this planet experiences negative thoughts. It's part of how our brains work. Our minds are designed to protect us, to help us avoid pain, discomfort, and failure. This is where negative thinking comes from. Primitive defense mechanism designed to keep us safe, and yet in today's world it often holds us back instead. So why do we let these thoughts control us? It's because we often don't question them. We let them slip into our subconscious, and before we know it, we start believing them. I'm not good enough. I'll never succeed. This is too hard for me. We've all had those moments. But here's the thing. We don't have to let these thoughts take the key to breaking free from negative thinking is awareness. It starts with acknowledging these thoughts as they arise. When you notice a negative thought, don't immediately reject it or push it away, because that can often make it stronger. Instead, simply recognize it for what it is, a thought. And just like any other thought, it's temporary. It comes and then it can go. Now, this isn't about being perfect. It's not about shutting down every negative thought as soon as it appears. That's unrealistic. It's about developing the ability to step back and view your thoughts with a little more distance and clarity. It's about understanding that not every thought you have is the truth. Just because a negative thought crosses your mind doesn't mean it's who you are, or that it's an accurate reflection of reality. The moment you stop treating your negative thoughts as absolute truths, you gain the power to question them. Think of it like a bad habit. The more you give in to negativity, the more you reinforce it. But the reverse is also true. The more you choose to observe your thoughts without being controlled by them, the more weaken the hold they have on you. You can start noticing these thoughts without letting them dictate your actions. This is how you begin to create a new habit, one that allows you to move forward despite the negativity that might surface. Negative thoughts thrive in silence, in isolation. When we keep our fears and doubts to ourselves, they often grow bigger and scarier. But when we bring them into the light, when we talk about them, write about them, or simply reflect on them, they lose some of their power. We begin to see them for what they are, just thoughts, not facts, not absolutes, just mental chatter, like background noise. It doesn't have to dictate the story of who we are or where we're headed. Imagine that you're driving a car and your negative thoughts are passengers sitting in the back seat. They're there and they're going to speak up from time to time, but you're the one behind the wheel. You have the control to decide where the car goes. Your thoughts may chatter in the back, but you don't have to let them steer the wheel. When you recognize them as just passengers, you take back the control. And this is incredibly empowering. One of the most powerful things you can do is practice catching these negative thoughts before they have a chance to spiral out of control. So every time you notice a negative thought, ask yourself, is this thought helping me? Is this thought moving me toward my goals? Is it serving me in any way? More often than not, the answer is no. These thoughts are like dead weight, holding you back from what you truly want to achieve. And once you realize that, you can start letting them go. But it's important to remember that letting go of negative thinking doesn't mean you're denying reality. It doesn't mean you're pretending everything is perfect or that you have to be happy all the time. Life is full of challenges, and it's okay to acknowledge those challenges. But the key is in how you respond to them. Do you let negativity consume you and stop you in your tracks, or do you recognize it, process it, and choose to keep moving forward? It's also helpful to understand that while negative thoughts are normal, we often exaggerate them. Our brains are wired to dwell on the negative, to focus on the threats and the potential dangers. But this tendency often leads us to overestimate how bad things really are. Make a mountain out of a molehill. A small mistake becomes a catastrophe. A minor setback feels like a failure. This is where perspective comes in. When you challenge your negative thoughts, you begin to see that what you're worried about might not be as big as it feels in the moment. The reality might be far more manageable than your mind is leading you to believe. And that's where the real change begins. When you start realizing that your thoughts don't define you, they don't have to shape your actions or your future. Negative thinking will always be a part of your mental landscape, but it doesn't have to dominate it. The more you practice observing your thoughts without judgment, the more you'll start to see that they are just thoughts. And the more you'll realize that you have the power to let them go. So, the next time a negative thought creeps in, don't be afraid to challenge it. Don't be afraid to ask yourself if it's truly serving you. Don't be afraid to acknowledge it and let it go, knowing that you have the power to choose your own path. Recognizing that negative thinking is just a part of the human experience and not the sum of your existence gives you the freedom to move forward with clarity, confidence, and strength. When it comes to negative thinking, one of the most powerful tools we have at our disposal is the ability to shift our perspective. This doesn't mean ignoring the challenges we face or pretending that everything is perfect. No, it's about recognizing that how we perceive a situation, how we frame it in our minds, has a profound impact on how we experience it. It's about shifting from a mindset of limitation to one of possibility. Think about it for a moment. When you look at a situation, you have two choices. You can focus on what's wrong, or you can focus on what's right. You can focus on the obstacles, or you can focus on the opportunities. The power lies in how we choose to see the world around us. If you choose to focus only on what could go wrong, you will naturally be overwhelmed by fear, doubt, and hesitation. But when you choose to see the potential, the opportunities, and the lessons that come with any challenge, you transform the way you interact with life. Shifting perspective starts with a simple question. What if this challenge was an opportunity in disguise? What if every setback, every difficulty was actually leading you closer to growth, to learning, to strength? The truth is, challenges are part of life. They are inevitable. But how we face them is up to us. And when we begin to see challenges not as roadblocks, but as stepping stones, our mindset begins to change. Instead of retreating in fear, we step forward with curiosity and determination. Take a moment to think about the times in your life when you faced something difficult. In hindsight, many of those challenges probably turned out to be some of your greatest learning experiences. Maybe you failed at something, maybe you didn't go the way you expected, but that failure didn't define you. It didn't mark the end of your journey. Instead, it became a lesson that you could build on. It became part of the process of growth. That shift in perspective, seeing failure as feedback rather than defeat, allows you to grow in ways you wouldn't have otherwise. But here's the thing. It's not always easy to shift perspective. When we're in the thick of something difficult, our natural inclination is to feel overwhelmed or discouraged. Our brains are wired to focus on the negative, to protect us from potential harm. It's a survival mechanism. But while this was helpful when we were avoiding physical dangers, in today's world, it often keeps us from seeing the bigger picture. When faced with a setback, we might see it as a sign that we're not good enough, that we're incapable, or that we'll never get things right. But those are just thoughts, and they are not the reality of the situation. Shifting your perspective requires practice. It requires you to question the automatic narrative that plays in your head. It requires you to pause, take a step back, and ask yourself, is this really the end of the road, or is this just a detour? It's a powerful question because it shifts the focus from failure to possibility. And in that shift, something incredible happens. The fear that held you back begins to loosen its grip. The self-doubt that clouded your vision starts to fade. You begin to see the path ahead more clearly with all its potential. But how do we cultivate this shift in perspective? The first step is awareness. You must first recognize when you're caught in a negative thought pattern. When you find yourself thinking, this isn't going to work, or I'm not good enough for this, stop for a moment. Take a breath. Ask yourself, is this thought helping me? More often than not, the answer is no. This is where the power of reframing comes in. Reframing is a tool that helps you look at a situation from a different angle. It's like taking a photograph and shifting the lens to see a different aspect of the same scene. Instead of looking at a problem as something you cannot solve, try seeing it as a challenge that will help you grow. Instead of seeing a mistake as something to be ashamed of, reframe it as a lesson that will guide you moving forward. This simple shift allows you to take ownership of your situation rather than feeling at the mercy of it. But it's not just about changing your internal dialogue. It's about taking action based on that new perspective. When you choose to see a situation differently, you empower yourself to approach it differently. You stop waiting for things to be perfect or for the fear to go away, and instead you start moving forward with confidence, knowing that you can handle whatever comes your way. The challenges become part of your journey, not obstacles that hold you back. Another way to shift your perspective is through gratitude. When you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed, take a moment to think about what you are grateful for in your life. It might seem small at first, but over time, practicing gratitude shifts your focus from what you don't have to what you do have. This doesn't mean ignoring the challenges you face, but rather shifting the focus to what is working, to the strengths you already have, and to the things that are going right in your life. When you start focusing on what's positive, you start to see more of it. It's like cleaning your glasses after they've been fogged up. Suddenly, the world looks a little clearer, a little brighter, and a little more manageable. And the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. Your brain begins to rewire itself, becoming more attuned to finding solutions rather than fixating on problems. You begin to train yourself to see opportunities where others might see only obstacles. Another powerful way to shift your perspective is to connect with others. Sometimes, when we're trapped in negative thinking, it's easy to isolate ourselves. We convince ourselves that no one understands, that we're alone in our struggles. But when we share our experiences, when we open up to others, we often find that we are not alone. Not only do others have their own struggles, but they can also offer a fresh perspective, one that we might not have considered. Sometimes, all it takes is a conversation with someone you trust to help you see things in a new light. Shifting perspective doesn't require you to be perfect. It doesn't mean you will never feel fear or doubt again, but what it does mean is that when those negative thoughts arise, you will have the tools to recognize them, to challenge them, and to shift your focus back to what is possible. It means that you will no longer be defined by your doubts, but by your ability to rise above them, to transform them, and to move forward with greater clarity and purpose. So the next time life throws you a curveball, remember this: you have the power to shift your perspective. You have the ability to choose how you see the situation, and in doing so, you can change how you feel about it and ultimately how you respond to it. The challenge is not the problem itself, but how you choose to see it. And that shift, that simple change in perspective, can be the difference between feeling stuck and moving forward with confidence and purpose. There's one small but incredibly powerful shift we can make that can completely change the way we approach life. And that shift is in the language we use, specifically in the words we choose to say to ourselves. It's a simple shift, but it's one that can have profound consequences. I'm talking about replacing the phrase, "I can't," with "I can." Now, this may sound overly simplistic, but stick with me for a moment, because this change is about more than just words. It's about how those words shape our identity, our confidence, and our ability to act. When we say, "I can't," we are essentially putting up a wall. We are telling ourselves that something is impossible, that we are powerless to change our circumstances or to overcome the challenges in front of us. The moment we say, "I can't," we stop looking for solutions. We stop believing that there is a way forward, and we shut ourselves off from possibility. It's a form of self-imposed limitation, and it's often rooted in fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not measuring up. But what if that wall wasn't really there? What if, instead of seeing an obstacle, we saw an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to try something new? Now, let's flip the script for a moment. Instead of saying, "I can't," what if we said, "I can"? When you say, "I can," you open the door to possibility. You acknowledge that, yes, there might be challenges ahead, but you are willing to take them on. You are willing to try, to push forward, to explore, and to make progress, no matter how small. This simple shift in language doesn't just change your words. It changes your mindset. It moves you from a place of passivity and defeat into a place of action and potential. Saying, "I can," gives you the confidence to face uncertainty, the strength to tackle obstacles, and the resilience to keep going even when things don't go as planned. It's important to recognize that saying "I can" doesn't mean that everything will be easy or that success is guaranteed. In fact, you might fail, you might stumble, and you might encounter setbacks along the way. But the difference is this: when you say "I can," you are choosing to act in spite of those obstacles. You are choosing to keep going, to find another way, and to learn from the experience. "I can" is not about instant success, it's about resilience. It's about knowing that you have the power to persist, to adapt, and to try again, even when the road ahead is tough. So how do we make this shift from "I can't" to "I can"? The first step is awareness. The next time you catch yourself thinking or saying "I can't," pause for a moment. Ask yourself, is this really true? Is there truly nothing I can do to change this situation? More often than not, the answer, one of the most powerful things we can do when dealing with negative thoughts and limiting beliefs is to embrace self-compassion. It's so easy to be hard on ourselves, especially when we feel like we've failed or when things don't go as planned. We have a tendency to be our own harshest critics, constantly berating ourselves for not being good enough, for not achieving more, or for not measuring up to the standards we set for ourselves. But what if I told you that this harsh self-criticism is actually one of the biggest obstacles to growth and success? What if I told you that treating yourself with kindness and compassion could be the key to unlocking your true potential? Self-compassion isn't about letting yourself off the hook or excusing poor behavior. It's not about avoiding responsibility or taking the easy up. Every time you make a mistake, you'll stay stuck in a cycle of shame and self-doubt. But when you treat yourself with compassion, You open yourself up to the possibility of growth and improvement. Think about the way you would treat a close friend who is struggling. When they make a mistake, you wouldn't criticize them harshly or make them feel like they are worthless. Instead, you'd offer them understanding, encouragement, and support. You'd remind them that everyone makes mistakes and that they are not defined by their failures. You would help them see that their worth is not tied to their performance or their success, but to who they are as a person. And yet, when it comes to ourselves, we often fail to offer the same level of compassion. But here's the thing. You deserve that same level of care. You are worthy of kindness and understanding, especially in moments of struggle. When you show yourself compassion, you give yourself the space to heal, to grow, and to move forward. You allow yourself to be human, to make mistakes, and to learn from them without being weighed down by self-judgment. Self-compassion also helps to break the cycle of negative thinking. Negative thoughts often arise when we feel like we've fallen short or when we think we're not good enough. But when we practice self-compassion, we challenge those negative thoughts. We stop letting them dictate our self-worth. Instead of thinking, I'm not good enough, or I'll never be able to do this, we begin to think, I made a mistake, but that doesn't mean I'm a failure, or I'm still learning, and I'm capable of improving. It's a small shift, but it's a powerful one. By treating ourselves with kindness, we take away the power of negative self-talk and replace it with a more constructive and nurturing inner dialogue. It's also important to recognize that self-compassion isn't about ignoring your flaws or pretending that everything is okay when it's not. It's about accepting yourself as you are, flaws and all, without the need to be perfect. In fact, perfectionism is often one of the biggest barriers to self-compassion. When we feel like we have to be perfect, we set ourselves up for disappointment and frustration. But when we let go of the need for perfection and embrace our imperfections, we create room for growth and progress. We begin to see ourselves not as failures when we make mistakes, but as people who are learning and evolving. One of the most powerful aspects of self-compassion is its ability to reduce stress and anxiety. When we're constantly hard on ourselves, we create a sense of pressure and urgency that makes everything feel more difficult. We start to feel like we're constantly falling short, like we're never good enough, and this creates an overwhelming sense of stress. But when we practice self-compassion, we release that pressure. We stop demanding perfection and start giving ourselves the grace to fail, to try again, and to move forward at our own pace. This shift in mindset helps us to feel more at ease, more grounded, and more capable of handling whatever comes our way. It's also important to note that self-compassion is not a one-time thing. It's a practice. It's something you have to cultivate every day. It's something you have to remind yourself of, especially when you're facing challenges. And it's something you have to actively choose, even when it feels difficult. There will be times when your inner critic is loud, when you feel like you're not good enough, and when you're tempted to beat yourself up over mistakes. But in those moments, it's crucial to choose self-compassion over self-criticism. The more you choose it, the easier it becomes, and the more natural it will feel. One of the most effective ways to practice self-compassion is through self-reflection. Take time to check in with yourself, to acknowledge how you're feeling, and to offer yourself kindness in those moments of struggle. It could be as simple as taking a deep breath and saying, it's okay to not be okay right now. It could be reminding yourself that you're doing the best you can, and that's enough. It could even mean taking a step back and allowing yourself the space to rest and recharge, knowing that you don't have to be perfect all the time. Self-compassion is about treating yourself with the same level of care and understanding that you would offer to someone you love. At the end of the day, practicing self-compassion is not just about being kinder to yourself, it's about creating the mental and emotional space to grow. It's about acknowledging that you are not defined by your mistakes, that your worth is not tied to your performance, and that you have the capacity to learn, evolve, and improve. When you embrace self-compassion, you free yourself from the burden of perfectionism and self-judgment. You allow yourself to step into the world with confidence, knowing that you are worthy, capable, and deserving of kindness, especially from yourself. One of the most profound ways to overcome negative thinking and break free from self-doubt is by building resilience, the ability to bounce back from adversity, to keep going when things get tough, and to remain steady even when life throws unexpected challenges your way. Resilience isn't about avoiding hardship, it's about developing the strength to navigate through it and emerge stronger on the other side. It's about understanding that setbacks and failures are not signs of weakness, but rather opportunities to grow, to learn, and to become more capable than before. When we face difficult situations, it's natural to feel overwhelmed or discouraged. But resilience is what allows us to keep moving forward, to find our way out of the darkness and to stay focused on the bigger picture. The truth is, we all have the capacity for resilience. It's something we can cultivate, something we can strengthen, just like any other skill. And the key to building that resilience is to shift our mindset from one of helplessness to one of empowerment. One of the first steps in building resilience is recognizing that adversity is not a reflection of our worth. Just because something is hard doesn't mean we are incapable or that we're failing. Challenges are a part of life, they are inevitable. And the more we can accept that, the better equipped we are to handle them when they arise. Instead of seeing difficult moments as proof that we're not good enough or that we're destined to fail, we can choose to see them as opportunities to grow and evolve. Adversity doesn't have to break us. It can build us up, if we let it. Think about the most resilient people you know. What do they have in common? I'll bet they don't avoid hardship. In fact, they probably lean into it. Resilient people don't run away from challenges. They embrace them. They see difficulty as a teacher, a guide that can show them what they're truly capable of. This doesn't mean they don't experience pain, frustration, or doubt. But it does mean that when those feelings arise, they don't let them control their action. They don't let temporary setbacks dictate their long-term outcomes. They keep going. They find a way. They adapt. That's what resilience is all about, adaptability. Life is unpredictable. Things don't always go according to plan, but the ability to adjust, to pivot, and to stay flexible in the face of challenges is what allows us to keep moving forward. When things get tough, resilient people don't give up. They reassess, they recalibrate, and they find new ways to tackle the problem. They understand that there is more than one way to reach their goal. And they're not afraid to explore different routes, even if it means stepping out of their comfort zone. They embrace change rather than resisting it. A big part of resilience is the ability to maintain a sense of purpose, especially when things aren't going well. It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day struggles and to lose sight of the bigger picture. But resilient people stay connected to their why, their deeper purpose. And it's that purpose that keeps them going when the going gets tough. When they face challenges, they remind themselves why they're doing what they're doing. That sense of purpose acts as an anchor. Help them stay grounded and focused even when things feel chaotic. It gives them the motivation to keep going, to push through the obstacles, and to stay true to their vision, no matter how many setbacks they encounter. But resilience is not just about mental toughness. It's also about emotional strength. When things don't go as planned, it's easy to feel frustrated, disappointed, or discouraged. But resilient people don't let their emotions derail them. They acknowledge their feelings, but they don't let those feelings define them. They understand that emotions are temporary and that they don't have to control their actions. They allow themselves to feel what they feel, but they don't let those feelings stop them from moving forward. One of the most important things to remember about resilience is that it's built over time. It's not something you're born with, and it's not something that magically appears when you need it most. It's something that you develop through experience, through trial and error, and through a willingness to face discomfort head-on. The more challenges you encounter and overcome, the stronger your resilience becomes. It's like exercising a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. So every time you face adversity, you have an opportunity to strengthen your resilience. But Building resilience doesn't mean doing it all on your own. In fact, one of the most powerful ways to build resilience is by surrounding yourself with a support system. People who encourage you, who believe in you, and who are there for you when you need them the most. Having a strong network of people who lift you up can make all the difference when times get tough. It's not a sign of weakness to lean on others. It's a sign of strength. Resilient people know that they don't have to go through hard times alone. They seek help when they need it, and they allow others to support them as they navigate through challenges. Another important aspect of resilience is the ability to maintain hope. When things aren't going well, it can be easy to lose sight of the future and to get stuck in the present moment. But resilient people hold on to hope even in the darkest of times. They believe that things will get better even when they can't see how. They trust in their ability to overcome whatever obstacles lie ahead, and they maintain a positive outlook even when circumstances are challenging. That sense of hope helps them keep moving forward, step by step, until they reach the other side of their struggle. Resilience is also about celebrating progress, no matter how small. When you're in the midst of a difficult situation, it's easy to focus only on the things that aren't going well, to dwell on the things that still need fixing. But resilient people understand the importance of acknowledging and celebrating even the smallest wins. Each step forward, no matter how small, is a victory. And by celebrating those small wins, we build momentum and keep ourselves motivated to keep going. It's a way of reminding ourselves that we are making progress, even if it doesn't always feel like it. Ultimately, resilience is about trust. Trust in yourself, trust in the process, and trust in the belief that no matter how many setbacks you encounter, you will continue to grow, to learn, and to move forward. It's about trusting that you have the strength to face whatever comes your way and that you are capable of handling challenges as they arise. Resilience is not a destination, it's a journey. It's the ongoing process of learning how to face adversity, how to bounce back, and how to keep moving forward with strength, confidence, and purpose. And once you've built that resilience, there's nothing you can't overcome. One of the most powerful tools we have in transforming negative thinking is the ability to reframe the narrative we tell ourselves. Our thoughts are not just passive things that happen to us. They are active, dynamic forces that shape our reality. The stories we tell ourselves about who we are, what we're capable of, and what the future holds have a profound impact on how we experience the world. The truth is, our mindset and perspective are the lenses through which we view everything. So if we change the way we frame the world around us, we can change the way we experience it. A lot of the time, we get caught up in negative thought patterns, and we don't even realize it. We tell ourselves stories of inadequacy, failure, and limitation. We focus on what's not working, what's missing, or what we haven't yet achieved. And when we do this, we often forget to acknowledge all the things that are going well, all the progress we've made, and all the ways we're already succeeding. We get so focused on what's wrong that we overlook what's right. That's where reframing comes in. Reframing is the process of changing how we view a situation, how we interpret our experiences, and how we tell our stories. It's about shifting from a negative perspective to one that is empowering, constructive, and optimistic. The first step in reframing is recognizing that we are not our thoughts. Just because a thought enters our mind doesn't mean it's true. We all have negative thoughts from time to time, and that's completely normal. But the key is to not let those thoughts define us. When we catch ourselves thinking, I'm not good enough, I'll never succeed, or this is too hard, we have a choice. We can either let those thoughts control us, or we can challenge them. We can ask ourselves, is this really true? What evidence do I have to support this thought? How can I view this situation differently? By doing this, we begin to take control of our thinking rather than letting our thoughts control us. For example, let's say you're working on a project and things aren't going well. Your initial thought might be, I'm failing. I'm not cut out for this, or this is never going to work. These thoughts are negative, and they can quickly spiral into a sense of hopelessness and self-doubt. But what if you reframed that thought? What if you said, I'm facing a challenge, but challenges are opportunities for growth. Or, I might not be getting it right this time, but I can learn from this experience and improve the next time around. Instead of seeing the situation as a failure, you see it as a learning opportunity. Instead of focusing on the negative, you focus on the possibility for growth. That small shift in perspective can change everything. Another important part of reframing is recognizing that setback